Hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. And this lecture is all about Cognito user pools. So let's get started. So what are user pools? Well, these are directories which are used to manage sign up and sign in functionality for mobile and web applications. Users can sign in directly to the user pool or indirectly via an identity provider like Facebook, Amazon, or Google. And Cognito acts as an identity broker between the ID provider and AWS. Successful authentication generates a number of JSON web tokens known as JWTs. And there's also this notion of identity pools. And identity pools enable you to create unique identities for your users and authenticate them with identity providers. And with an identity, you can obtain temporary limited privilege AWS credentials to access other AWS services like S3, DynamoDB, etc. So a user pool is just like a user directory and it manages sign up and sign in functionality, whereas an identity pool is more to do with assigning roles to users who have already authenticated using a separate identity provider. So they map a user from a provider like Facebook or Google to an identity access management role. And identity pools really deal more with permissions and assigning permissions using an IAM role rather than sign up and sign in. So let's take a look at an example. We've got our user here, and the first thing she does is she logs in via Facebook and receives her JWT tokens. Then the Cognito identity pool exchanges the JWT token for AWS credentials. And these are temporary credentials which she can then use to access AWS resources. And Cognito handles all this for you. You don't have to write any special code for your application. It manages receiving the JWT tokens from Facebook and the exchange of those tokens for AWS credentials. So what are our exam tips for Cognito? Remember, Cognito uses user pools to manage user sign up and sign in either directly or via web identity providers, think Facebook, Amazon, and Google. It also acts as an identity broker, handling all interaction with the web identity providers. So that is the end of this lecture, but really the best way to learn about Cognito is to start using it, and that's exactly what we're going to do in the next lecture, which is a lab. So if you've got time, please join me in the next lecture where we are going to configure Cognito.